Hey everyone! Today we're counting down our picks for the best street racing games that you should check out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. JDM, Japanese Drift Master. Before we continue, I must let you know that street racing as a genre peaked in the 2000s, so there will be a lot of older games in this list. However, I only include the ones that are available on modern platforms, so yeah, no PS2 exclusives here. Anyway, this one is an open-world drifting and street racing game set in Japan. Think Underground 2, but with even more drifting. Obviously, you can also hit up garages to modify your licensed cars. Oh, and unlike most indie racers, it actually has a story you need to follow. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Okay, I know this game was not received well at its launch due to various issues, but seriously, I really think this one has potential if whoever's responsible for it actually fixes all the issues. And yeah, it's not your typical street racing game where you drive Japanese imports with big-ass spoilers. It's more like that one scene in Too Fast, Too Furious where they race against drivers in supercars and muscle cars just to retrieve a cigarette. So, keep your expectations realistic, and you might actually enjoy this one.
Come on, Alice, keep up.
CarX Street. Okay, for a game that's still technically in development, this game really scratches that racing game itch, especially if you're nostalgic for the Need for Speed glory days. You know, Underground 2 and Most Wanted, which, if you know these games, you should start rethinking your goals in life. But now, don't expect a flawless experience yet. The game feels grindy, and the AI isn't the most fun, but if you keep playing and start to gain momentum, you'll start enjoying this game. So, with this one, just have realistic expectations, and you'll be fine. Need for Speed World. Now, this was an MMO racing game that got shut down in 2015. But you know what? Some fans revived it, and thanks to a project called Soapbox Race World, people can play it again and race online. As you can see, it's basically classic Need for Speed and plays a lot like Most Wanted and Carbon, but this time it has power-ups, just like Mario Kart or Blur. And yeah, not many people remember this game or even knew it existed, but if you're feeling nostalgic and want to relive those moments, definitely check it out. It's called Soapbox Race World.
Guys at the garage.
I thought this was supposed to be a friendly race.
This is us being friendly.
Need for Speed Payback. Now, I don't have to tell you that the Need for Speed franchise has made some of the best street racing games out there. In fact, the franchise helped make street racing games more popular back in the day. And this one definitely looks stunning, and the races are a blast too, and although we crave some good narrative in our street racing games, don't expect much from the story in this one. That said, the gameplay is fun enough. So if you want an open-world street racing game full of action, this one's for you.
Keep going towards the spillway.
Where are you, bro?
Doesn't matter.
Juiced. This one was from the same era as the Underground games. And although many people prefer the Underground games, this one had its own fanbase for a few reasons. And what made the game quite popular among some gamers is that it was one of the first to implement the pink slip system, which makes the game more exciting as you can lose your car if you lose a race. And despite many people saying that this one is a cheap Underground ripoff, I think it has its own charms that made it likable to those in the know. Need for Speed Undercover. Okay, this one is also one of the lesser-known Need for Speed games, and I'd say it's like black coffee. You either love it or you don't. The thing is, many people felt this game was unfinished, like it was rushed out the door. And honestly, I don't disagree. However, despite the mixed reviews and the bugs and issues, especially on consoles, I still think that if you love street racing games, you should give this one a shot. It's basically Need for Speed Carbon, but in daylight. Oh, and Maggie Q is in this game too, so that's a plus. Street Racing Syndicate. Back then, this game was touted as a competitor to the legendary Need for Speed Underground 2. But we all know how that turned out, right? However, that doesn't mean this game is unplayable though. It's actually pretty enjoyable, especially if you don't care about realistic vehicle physics. And one more thing. There's a lot of fan service involving hot ladies in this game, if you catch my drift. Simply put, this game is the B-movie of 2000 street racing games. So, if you want a game to talk trash over, this is the one. Need for Speed. First things first, look at the graphics. Goddamn, it's so beautiful and realistic, especially when it's raining. There's no denying that in that aspect. And if you love the Underground series for its street racing elements, then you'll love this one too. It's basically the closest we get to Underground 3. However, you should know that the game is online only, just like many other modern games. Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. So get this one only if it's on sale, or if you have a subscription to EA Play. Need for Speed, The Run. Okay, this one isn't like your typical Need for Speed game because it feels more like a cinematic racing game where you follow a plot and progress through driving and racing. Think of the original God of War games, but it's street racing. Anyway, it's got crazy chases, cop pursuits, and even moments where you're out of the car in QuickTime events. The story is a bit over the top, but the racing is intense and the locations are stunning. It's not super deep on customization, but if you want a cinematic high-stakes race, then this is it. Kanjozoku Game Racer. Now, this game is all about old-school, illegal highway racing inspired by Japan's real-life Kanjo street racers. It's got that underground late-night vibe, you know, high-speed runs on tight expressways, dodging traffic and battling other racers. The handling is arcadey but fun, and the game focuses more on raw racing skill than flashy storylines. You can also customize your car, but it's more about the driving experience. Think Initial D or Wangan Midnight vibes. So, if you love JDM culture and that 90s street racing aesthetic, it's a dope game to check out. Oh, and there are anime girls too.
Let's see what you're worth. Take me to the club. Solar Crown awaits us.
Test Drive Unlimited 2. The Test Drive Unlimited series is one of the most famous when it comes to open-world racing, and this one is visually better than the first game. Although by today's standards, it's not special. I know, I sometimes still think it's 2011 right now. Anyway, the driving is more arcade-like with this one compared to the first game, but it's still an overall better game in my opinion due to the improved graphics and the depiction of Oahu and Ibiza, which are nice to look at. And this game is now abandonware, so definitely check this one out. Need for Speed Heat. Now with this one, the visuals aren't as realistic as the 2015 game, but it's more vibrant and colorful, especially at night, so if that's your taste, you'll like this game. And as for the story, well, it's not much. Your character feels more like a sidekick than the star of the show, and honestly, we're not really here for some deep narrative in a racing game anyway. But overall, this is a fun game if you love the series. The customization is great, the tuning is fun, the map is decent, and there's nothing to complain about with that.
kiddo. Game on. We're going for some proper...
The Crew Motorfest. Now this is the latest The Crew game, and in my opinion, it has the best graphics. And just like the previous game, it's an open-world arcade racing game with lots of built-in activities. There are also playlists in this game which are basically handcrafted race events that are fun if you love games with objectives. And if you love street racing, a playlist called Made in Japan will satisfy your needs, especially if you already love this game. Anyway, this game will only appeal to certain players. If you love structured, fun, but somewhat repetitive content, you'll probably enjoy it. Need for Speed Unbound. This one is currently the latest and hottest Need for Speed game, and I think it has the most unique visuals due to its visual effects and character designs, but the rest of the game is enjoyable too, in my opinion. But what about the hate for this game? Well, with modern Need for Speed games, there's a pattern you see. Here's how it goes. The latest installment will be hated, but as soon as a new game comes up, it will suddenly be called underrated, while the new game gets hated on. It's weird, I know, but it's true.
In the real world, drive safe, obey the laws of the road, and always wear your seatbelt.
Need for Speed Carbon. Now, this game is all about nighttime street racing and crew battles, which is pretty similar to the previous games, just not as famous. Anyway, the game brings back customization from Most Wanted but adds a crew system where teammates help you win races. It's also got a cool mix of cop chases, tuner culture, and a darker, more underground vibe than Most Wanted. Oh, and there are these nail-biting canyon races where one mistake can send you flying off the edge too. So, if you love Most Wanted but hate the orange sky, definitely play this one.
We need another unit out here as soon as you can. We just lost a car.
Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012. Now, if you're expecting a remake of the original Most Wanted, you might be disappointed with this one, but don't get me wrong, this game is great, especially with the car mechanics and the stunning visuals. It's just more like a Burnout game than a Need for Speed game, and if you played Burnout Paradise, you'll find some familiarity in this one. However, I don't mind this game offering a different experience compared to the others in the franchise, and neither should you. In the end, it's still a Need for Speed game and there is street racing in it.
Suspect details. I'm updating MDC with pursuit status.
Midnight Club 2. Alright, this one is pure, no-nonsense street racing. Just you, your car, and a bunch of AI trying to smoke you. The game throws you into LA, Paris, and Tokyo with open city races, where finding the best shortcuts is key. The handling is super arcadey with a lot of drifting, boosting, and even wheelies on bikes. It's tough at first, but once you figure it out, it's crazy fun. Oh, don't forget that the AI is ruthless, but winning feels earned. Anyway, the story isn't deep, but if you like fast, no-nonsense street racing games with no fluff, this is it. Blur. This game, along with Split Second, was one of the go-to arcade racers to play with friends back when split-screen multiplayer was the standard in racing games. It's basically an arcade street racing game with power-ups. Think Need for Speed mixed with Mario Kart. So yeah, it might look odd compared to modern racing games, which focus more on realism and accurate physics. That said, it's still a blast to play with others. That is, if you can get your hands on a copy and make it work. And trust me, it's worth tracking down just to relive the split-screen multiplayer experience.
You want to be the best? You gotta take these boys down.
Need for Speed Underground. This game is what made illegal street drag racing famous in video games, particularly due to its unique mechanic where you must change lanes and avoid collisions with regular civilian cars. And as expected, nothing is realistic in this game, but you know what? We didn't care back then. All we knew was that this game was very addictive and could satisfy our desires to relive those fast and furious moments, and obviously, If you're a street racing enthusiast or are obsessed with realistic vehicle simulation, don't bother with this one. But honestly, everyone should try this one.
Yo, man, quit thinking about it and race.
Need for Speed, Underground 2. Now, if you're a 90s kid like me, chances are you played this game back in its heyday if you were into racing games. I mean, this game was the shit back then. Everyone who was into racing games was playing this game non-stop. First off, it was the first Need for Speed game with an open world setting. Not only that, but the game was super addictive, especially when you were trying to win races to upgrade or customize your cars while jamming to those banger soundtracks. And now, with some mods, you could make the experience even better.
Aaron and I play Mia in Need for Speed Most Wanted. Make sure you do all your racing in the game. On the
Need for Speed, Most Wanted 2005. 1 year after Underground 2 was released, we got this game, which is similar to Underground 2, but now it's set in the daytime and the streets are filled with cops. But overall, people who enjoyed Underground 2 also enjoyed this one. However, the customization is a bit simpler, though the variety of cars is wider. But you know what? The biggest selling point of this game is the police chases themselves. I mean, it's really fun being chased by multiple cops and trying to escape in a fast car. Makes you feel like an action movie star, you know? Midnight Club, Los Angeles. Now, this game was famous back then for its atmosphere, customization, and soundtrack, which says a lot about Rockstar Games' reputation. And if you've lived in LA, been to LA, or are just curious about what it's like, then this game is your perfect choice since it captures the city vibe so well. Not only that, not many games let you race through heavy traffic in an open world setting like this one. However, the game was never ported to PC, but luckily it's available on modern Xbox consoles, so definitely check it out if you can. Night Runners, Prologue. Now, this one is an early access free-to-play indie game that takes you deep into the underground scene of Japanese street racing set between 1990 and 2009. In this hidden gem, you'll join local street racing crews and fight for control over territories and establish dominance. And just like many street racing games, you'll engage in high-stakes wager races, face off against rival crews, and customize your cars. And as you can see, the game is very similar to the beloved Underground games. So, definitely check this one out if you're a fan. Tokyo Xtreme Racer. Finally, the infamous Tokyo Xtreme Racer series is back, and its newest game just hit early access. Now, this game is basically that old-school arcade highway racing vibe where you'll engage in 1-versus-1 battles and tune your car to take on faster rivals. The handling feels solid, customization is deep, and the atmosphere is spot on. People are loving it so far, and it's got that same addicting, just one more race feeling. And obviously there's more to come, but if you like the old games or just want a chill but intense street racing experience, it's worth checking out. So do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.